Hey YouTube, this is bryanturtle. Today I want to bring you a deck profile on Rockstun, and after the profile I'd like to tell you about how I think it's going to affect the meta and such. So let's get straight into this deck profile. Alrighty, so we run our 3 block golem. He's our heart and soul of the deck. He allows us to keep our Kokimarus on field after they've been sent to the graveyard. He's pretty much our entire engine, and he allows us to keep the deck going. The only downside to this card is that all the monsters in our graveyards have to be Earth, so that means our extra deck options are kind of limited, and our main deck options are limited. But that does not mean the deck is bad. All that will happen is if you do happen to get the different type into the grave, you won't be able to use our block golem as effectively. But we do enjoy the fact that he's a level 3 just in case that does happen. The next part will be our 9 Kokimarus. We run our Guardians, they shut down monster effects. We run Wall, it shuts down spells. We run Sandman, it shuts down traps. The only bad side to running the Kokimarus is that end turn you have to reveal the rock. But if you wanted to, if you had 2 Sandman in hand, you could just reveal Sandman, you could reveal Wall, you could reveal Guardian, or potentially, if on a previous turn, Neospatian Grand Mole had got returned to your hand by his effect, you could just reveal him. So overall, the Kokimarus aren't that bad, especially since comboed with the Block Golem, they allow for lots of combo-licious plays. Our Sandman is potentially our best turn, if it's our first turn but our opponent had gone ahead of us, it is our best play, since if we summon it and they go bottomless, we can chain his effect. If they go torrential, we can still chain his effect. Wall is our best first turn play against like Dark Worlds if we happen to know we're playing that, or even windups because it'll shut down their factories immediately. Guardian is also one of our good plays against windups and potentially Dark Worlds, since we can tribute him off to negate their effects. Next card is Neospatian Grand Mole. He is the best rock monster in game to get rid of any threat that should manage to show up on the field. We summon him, attack, activate his effect, return to our hands. He will also then be able to feed our reveal cost, just to keep our opponent afraid to put big things on board. We run 1 Gigantes. That way we can summon him. He's a 1900 body. If they have Thunder King, we can ram into a Thunder King. And then what will that allow us to do is blow up all the back rows on the field, on our opponent's side of the field. Since after that happens, then we'll set our own. Morphing Jar. The only problem with this card in deck is the Dark World matchup, since if we set, they attack into it, they get all their super awesome effects, and that's kind of sad for us. But this card allows us to actually have a draw engine, since at the moment, Kokimarus / Rockstone really don't have any form of draw engine. The best thing they really have is their Searcher, Kokimaru Boulder. But since at the current time we don't run that in this version, that may come later. This is our best way to get cards to hand. We run triple Go 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 Giant. He's pretty much he's like our tour guide. He's our 1 card XYZ. If we have 1 engrave, we go summon, then we special summon, and then this guy goes to defense. We overlay for any of our rank 4s we have in deck. So overall, pretty good, solid card. Now we're going to move into our spells. Oh no, wait, we still have 2 monsters left. And this is our big boss guy. He's pretty much the only boss monster we can really run in Rockstun. What he allows us to do is, unless the monster happens to have 5,600 attack points, sorry, I just flipped you guys off. Unless our opponent's monster has 5,600 attack points, they are not getting over this card by attacking. They will have to waste a resource, to which if we either have our Sandman or our Wall face up on the field, they will not be able to get around this for a long time. The only downside is he forces us to remove from play. But in later versions, we may be able to run a card called Release from Stone, which allows us to special summon any monsters removed from play. And since Kokimarus managed to tribute themselves, we'll be able to tribute them off and manage to keep this guy alive longer. So now we move on into our spells finally. I'm sorry for fibbing earlier. We run 2 Potted Dualities. We really want to run a 3rd, but we can't because of our current ban list. Potted Duality allows us to get our consistency and search for our combo pieces better. The only real problem with Rockstun is When you play Pot of Duality, if you've already summoned for the turn, that might mean that you were searching for the rock because you had none others in hand. But what it does allow us to do is actually search for our combo pieces and adds the cards to our hand that we do need at the moment. We run 3 Mystical Space Typhoon, because even though Sandman is almighty and powerful with his ability to distribute himself off to negate traps, we don't want to just summon him just to get rid of a trap. We want to be able to spot remove what we believe to be our biggest threats. Not to mention Sandman cannot stop Solemn Warning, and that's pretty much what we're hoping to hit with these guys. Heavy Storm. If we have Sandman face up on field, this card pretty much will get rid of all back row, because if they chain Starlight Road, we'll activate Sandman's effect to just negate and get rid of that. Once again, more than likely, you might want to have Sandman up on field before you activate Dark Hole, but do not let that have been your summon for the turn, because that way if they chain Starlight Road, we can chain Sandman. But he's pretty much our monster clearer, in case they got set up way faster than we did. We play Monster Reborn. Our best targets in deck are our Gaia Plate, since Gaia Plate does say that he can be special summoned by removing 2 rocks, so that also means he can be normal summoned and special summoned correctly. We also have our Grand Mole, but more than likely we're going to want to try to get out our Block Golem, or if it was just a really bad situation, we could go for any of our Kokis. Next card we run is Book of Moon. We run Book of Moon to get rid of potential threats and hazards to our deck, such as if opponent goes Thunder King first, we could book it, then attack over it. We could also, if somehow they manage to Mind Crush our hand away, and we've lost our only rock to reveal during end phase, we could Book of Moon our own monster to potentially stay alive another turn. Now we move on to our traps, which is this deck is really trap heavy. So we run 2 bottomless trap holes to get rid of all of the bigger threats than 1500, like Thunder King, Ryo, some of the XYZs that wind up choose. We run 2 Solemn Warnings to stop monsters that get summoned with effects, or cards that will be unaffected by bottomless that will mess us up pretty badly. We run 1 Solemn Judgment, since we will always have half-life points and it negates everything but monster effects. So to us, that is freaking amazing. The only thing this really can't stop is Gores, but since our monsters will be able to deal with everything else, it's good as is. One of our other MVPs of the deck is Skill Drain. Skill Drain allows us to use our Block Golems. It allows us to still use our Sandmen. Still allows us to use our Walls. Still allows us to use our Guardians and our Gigantes. The only cards that Skill Drain hurts in our deck are our Gaia Plates, our Go-Go-Go Giants, and our Morphing Jar and our Neospatian Grand Mole. And a lot of people would say, well, then why would you even run it at all? To which I reply, why would I activate Skill Drain if I had those face up on the field? Since my Kokis are able to get around all the monsters you play anyways, I'm probably just going to wait until you don't have answers on board for my Gaia Plates, or once you finally decide, hey, I don't need this Skill Drain up on field anymore, let's get rid of it, UMST, well, next turn I can finally go for my Gaia Plates, and odds are all of my Kokis and stuff have managed to deal with all the potential threats you're throwing at me now. So to me, Skill Drain is amazing in this deck, since so many of my cards are still live, and once I play it, it puts immediate pressure onto my opponent. Alright, the next card we run are 2 Fiendish Chains. This is once again to potentially stop. This allows us to stop tour guide plays, allows us to stop the potential wind-up loop that'll mess up our faces. But it also allows us, if we didn't manage to keep a Koki Maru on field or any of our rock monsters, we're able to stun up our opponent and stop their attack. The next card we run is Mirror Force, 2 of them. The only thing I would potentially replace these with is Deep Prison, Dimensional Prison, because Mirror Force is one of our few cards that allows Starlight Road to still be active. You could use the combo with Sandman still up on field to stop the Starlight Road, but it's honestly down to player preference, and I play in an area where they special summon a lot of monsters, so I want to get rid of as many cards in the field as possible. But if I were to go to a YCS, I would probably replace these with Dimensional Prisons. And the last 2 cards we run, the Huge Revolution is over and Starlight Road. They both pretty much do the same thing, but some of the areas where Starlight Road lacks, Huge Revolution picks it up. And by that what I mean is, Huge Revolution just says if 2 cards would be destroyed. So if for some reason your opponent has like a Fiendish Chain face up and you have a set and they activate Heavy Storm, you can chain the Huge Revolution is over, where Starlight Road you wouldn't be able to do that. But Starlight Road allows us to pull out a Stardust to negate 2 cards overall, while this card will actually just banish our threat. So it's honestly down to player preference. You could run 2 of both, 1 of each, or it's all up to player preference. Okay, we'll move on to the extra deck. We run 1 Naturia Beast, 1 Naturia Barkion, 1 Landoise, and Stardust. These are the only synchros we run since Earth Tuners are in really short supply. We run these guys just in case our opponent does happen to have the Earth Tuners, like X-Sabers manage to have them. And we run our Stardust because our opponent could have that tuner, but we also run the obligatory Starlight Road, so we have to have the Stardust just in case. Onto the XYZs, we run 2 Fairy King. He allows us to get over any monster that's under 2,800 attack points, so like Gores, most of the wind-ups, and most of the XYZs. The only card he really can't get around is Shining, but we'll put a huge damper on Shining just by using his effect once, and if we can manage to keep him alive with our traps and such, we'll be able to shrink him down to a total of 1,000. The next card we run is Gemini Pearl. He is pretty much our MVP XYZ because he fits exactly what this deck wants to do. He is an Earth Rock with a big body, so that means he can get over like Stardust and all these like big XYZs. We run Utopia. Even though the deck is Rock Stun, we prefer everything to potentially be Earth. We kind of need to run him since we really don't have good other options at this current time. And he's an overall good card. And once again, like I said earlier, the only thing having a different attribute engraved really affects is Block Golem. But if our opponent runs like Macro and such, all our cards will be banished anyway, so we're happy about that. Photon Palpable Operative. It allows us to mess up our defensively playing opponents. And it's got a nice big body, 2100 body on it. Maystroke allows us to mess up our opponents that are playing too aggro. It allows us to flip cards face down and attack over them. We run Tempo. He's a Earth, which we really enjoy having. He allows us to get over Zenmains and such. And he's got a nice little 2200 after you activate his effect. Mizram. I prefer this card 100 times over Acid Golem since it does not have the you cannot special summon, which is something you enjoy doing in this deck since you run Block Golem. It has the same exact attack during battle phase because of his effect. So overall, I think this card is superior to Acid Golem, and it should be run over Acid Golem for now. 1 wind-up Zenmains. It allows us to play a little bit defensively if we can't manage to get to any of our monsters fast enough, and it gives us pretty much, usually on average, about 2 turns, or at least 1, and it will allow us to blow up the cards. And then we run 1 Leviair since we run Gaia Plate. What that'll allow us to do is bring back our banished rock monsters that we use to special summon Gaia Plate. Odds are it's either going to be a Kokimaru or a Block Golem, and since when you bring back Block Golem, then you get 2 Kokis, so you've just like plus 2'd off of this 1 card. Alright, now let's talk about the future of the deck and where it may be going. To me, Rockstun is just like a really good anti-meta deck, and as the format's shaping right now, it's looking like it'll be really, really, really live because it allows us to stop all the spells, all the traps, and the monsters. And with Block Golem, we're allowed to pull back 2 cards at a time. And with the potential additives of other cards coming up in new sets, like this card right here, so far, it's been testing pretty amazing. It's called Catapult Zone. It allows you to send 1 rock from your deck to grave to stop the destruction of a monster by battle once per turn. So if you summon out a wall and your opponent tries to summon a monster with like 2100 attack points and they try to run it over, you activate Catapult Zone's effect, and you send like maybe a Kokimaru to grave that you may need later, like Sandman or Wall. And once you have Block Golem, it's set up a turn faster than normal. Also, another good card to think about adding is Fossil Dyna. He can be special summoned by Block Golem. He shuts down special summons, so he's like our Archlord Christia. He also allows us to be able to set him, and once they battle flip up, he'll activate Destroy All Monsters. The only problem is that Starlight Road, but we can get around that with Kokimaru Guardian's effect. With Kokimaru Sandman, I'm so sorry. Another card that we could potentially main deck is Rivalry of Warlords, since all our monsters, we try to make them raw. And while this is face up, we can control how we pull out our XYZs. For example, if we have 2 rocks face up, we could go into Gemini Pearl if we can't manage to get over something and potentially wreck it over. The only thing we really have a problem with is playing Rivalry is the hero matchup where they can get out the Shining. But overall, Rivalry could be main deck, so could Fossil Dyna. The only other cards that I'm thinking about adding into a future version would be Kokimaru Boulder, Release from Stone. It's a trap that's really, really old. It allows you to special summon one of your banished rocks. Since I really enjoy Gaia Plate, and he's an awesome boss monster, he'll force your opponent to activate spells and traps to get him off field. It would allow me to pull back like potential walls and Sandmen, or potentially even Block Golem to get out 2 extra Kokimarus. So I believe that is it for the deck today. I'll be updating this deck list soon. It's been wonderful, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Brought to you by Bryan Turtle. Have a good one, and later days.